Today's topic, they grow up so fast and hopefully start playing games. Welcome to TableScraps, short discussions about board, card, and tabletop gaming submitted by the viewing audience and discussed with the viewing audience. Hey there, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of TableScraps, the live streaming show where we discuss topics about board games, tabletop games, and card games with the live streaming chat audience. And today is another special treat because I am joined by another live individual, Mr. Marty Connell from the Rolling Dice and Taking Names podcast. And how are you doing?
Doing fantastic. I cannot wait to talk about this topic that we're going to be talking about, that you're going to be telling us what it is in just a second.
Absolutely, Marty. Thank you for asking. Today's topic comes from Aaron Williams, who asked actually a flurry of questions. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to go over all his questions.
I think it was a blizzard of questions, but go ahead.
Yes, an Activision blizzard of questions. We'll probably hone in. I'm not cutting. I'm going. I'm rolling still. I'm going to keep rolling. We'll probably hone in on just one of these, but let's go through his questions. Aaron asks about gaming fatigue and renewed passion in games, which is a really good topic, which we might come back to. Right now, I'm a little too tired to go into that topic. Talks about
Bravo.
Yes. Thank you. This is so much nicer when you're live streaming with someone you can get instant gratification for your bad jokes from. It's really nice. I like that.
Oh, I'll give you instant gratification.
Question number 2 is getting your kids into gaming or gaming while you have young kids. More about getting them into the table rather than what to play, which I think might be the one that we were going to hone in on. But you also mentioned cheaters, good stories, which might be something anecdotal we might come back to. And also for meeting new friends and saying goodbye to leaving ones. And again, that might be a whole topic in and of itself. But for this particular episode, let's zero in on Aaron's second question. Getting your kids into gaming or gaming while you have young kids. More about getting them to the table rather than what to play. Now, we're both in very nice positions, I think, to kind of share some stories about this because I have one child, a daughter, who I started playing games with when she was 6. And she just turned 12. So I've seen her kind of grow through these formidable years, and she's just getting to the point where I'm introducing kind of bigger and bigger things to her. Like Battletech is one that I'm actually going to be introducing to her soon, as well as Magic the Gathering and stuff like that. But you have 3 boys of different ages, so tell me what your experience game-wise has been with them so far.
Sure, yeah. So I've got 3 boys. One is, let me just tell you the ages so I can go back and explain where they kind of are now. So one is 22, one is 18, one is 16. Okay. And so I started gaming with them all very, very early on. Now we try to do some of the board games and stuff like that, and they were somewhat into the board games. But what I found that they really liked for them, 2 things. One, the Pokemon card game, the Pokemon trading card game. They seemed to really enjoy that because they were playing Pokemon on the video, on the console, on the Game Boy. So all of them are big video gamers, were and still are. And so I thought, okay, that's kind of my way in. Let me find something that's themed around something, that they play. Well, Pokemon was like instant. Oh, I've caught that Pokemon before. I want that card. So I got them into that. They also really like, they were into comic books and obviously liking superhero movies and everything. Hero Clicks. Here we go. So that kind of made sense. I got them Hero Clicks and they were into that. Heroscape. We had some of the original sets of that. So they liked figures and they liked cards. And and so they started playing those at an early age. And then it kind of progressed from there. So right now, my 2 oldest are heavy into Games Workshop games. They have, like for Christmas, both of them just asked for mainly Games Workshop models to fill out their list for 40K in Age of Sigmar.
Oh, wow.
My middle son is big into Magic the Gathering. Big. He loves playing Commander. He goes to tournaments. Every month there's a tournament. He goes to a local game store and he plays that. Both of my older ones, somehow along the way, we played RPGs here and there. RPGs may be their main style of game. While the older one was in college, He had a group that he played every week, and now my middle one that's in college, he has a game group that he plays every week. They love writing stories. RPGs was a great way to get them into creative aspects. They love writing stories and DMing and storytelling, and then the crafty stuff, the miniatures, they love to paint. Those two can paint me under the table. I mean, they have an amazing painting skills that they've honed over the years. So starting early, I just try to find something that they were interested. Wow, that was really Southern. Find something that they were really interested in based on other stuff that they were watching on TV or playing in video games. Found an analog version of that, introduced them, and it stuck with them.
Interesting. See, my approach with, I guess, my daughter has been a little bit of that, but more, I think, of just trying to find games I think might capture her interest. There wasn't a direct analog for a lot of these. But one of the first games we played together was actually King of Tokyo. And she liked, the artwork on a lot of the cards. Any monster card that had something that was cute in any way, they were her favorite cards to play when they came up. And she actually couldn't read yet completely, but she started to... I was surprised she memorized what the cards would do just based on the artwork. And not just like parroting back the rules, but she actually understood the concepts even when she was 6 and would kind of know, if I do this, if I get this card, it's going to have this effect for me. And I know I want that one when it comes up. And so, kids, I'm always surprised at how much they can pick up and absorb that way. And so, like what you said, finding an analog or finding games that might have something about them art-wise or component-wise that capture their interest can be another way to introduce them to it.
Mm-hmm. And also, another thing that got them into gaming was we took them to Gen Con for the first time in 2010. So at that time, there were 13, 9, and 7.
Wow.
So going to a place like Gen Con and experiencing that, and I'll never forget that we, at the time, Mayfair Games had their thing where if you played their games, you could collect the ribbons for like the different things of Catan. And we were going around and sampling all these games and trying to get into the drawing and etc. But I remember that's the first time that my 2 older ones got into miniature games, because at that time, Privateer Press had a Monster Apocalypse, which was like these big old monster figures that you put out into the board and you played a miniatures game with. And that was our first exposure to miniatures, to the bigger crafty miniatures games. And actually just last year, Privateer Press had canceled that line years ago and brought it back. And there's a new version of Monster Apocalypse out now.
And let's turn over to the chat and let's see what some of the people have to say on this topic about what we can do as gamers to get our kids involved. Peter starts us off by saying, need some games with interesting components to play with the youngest ones. Mice and Mystics is a bit too much. Played Go Nuts for Donuts with the youngest, and she really liked the art and it was easy to explain. What games, Marty, come to mind when you think of games that you would introduce to someone who's, between 6 to 10 years old?
Oh, well, you mentioned King of Tokyo. I actually introduced King of Tokyo to my kids. Big old chunky dice. They like the big cutouts of the monsters. The cards weren't overwhelming. I understand younger kids may not be able to well, by 6 to 10 they should be reading, and the cards won't get messed up. So that's a good one, just with those chunky dice, and the theme of it's really kind of cool. What's yours while I think of another one?
Oh yeah, we played Pengaloo. Oh, we had the blue orange game. Pengaloo was a huge hit for us, as was Froggy Boogie or Froggy Boggy, Froggy something. But Froggy Boogie was another one. But that and Pengaloo were the ones that, as a parent, I was able to play and not go insane.
And it's funny, I used to take my kids to the comic book store and they would get a booster pack of Hero Clicks. It was the same sort of deal. We'd get home, open them up. Another good game with components that is great for kids is I'm drawing a blank. It's wooden animals and you stack them. What's that one called?
Animal upon Animal?
Yes, Animal Upon Animal. That's a fantastic game with great components that kids can handle, and they get the concept of stacking and everything. Rhino Hero is another good one because it's just cards, and I think anything with building and doing something with them and making like a 3D anything, whether it be stacking or whatever, I think is great for kids. And plus, it's always funny when it falls down. They get a kick out of that, especially when it's your fault. And
Let's continue on to Sakura, who mentions Cube Quest and Ice Cool are great. They always went over well with my friends and kids. Oh, yeah, Ice Cool. That's the penguin flicking one, isn't it?
Amazing. Great suggestion. Once again, and the people in the comments have much better ideas than what we do. Ice Cool, an amazing game for kids. Amazing. Absolutely. I think anything with a tactical element to it, I think is going to be good for kids.
Absolutely. Our next post comes from Cam, who says, I have introduced both Sushi Go and Stone Age to 8 to 10-year-olds with great success. Ooh, that is a really good one. Interesting. I thought the same thing, but I introduced Sushi Go to my daughter, and it just fell flat. I was really surprised. And so, your mileage with any of these games may vary. However, even still, I still believe in Sushi Go, and I agree with Cam that is a very, very good candidate.
Yeah, and another thing, too, I was just thinking about, we think about, like, young kids and with dexterity and big blocks and everything, but once kids get older, 8, 12, maybe 10, you might, if you want to get them into something a little more meaty, where they got to do a little more thinking, we found that co-ops were a good way to go. So at the time at that age, Pandemic was big. And so my kids could get into Pandemic because we could help them. We could help them understand what the cards mean, some of the strategy behind it, because it wasn't us versus them. So then they could pick up on some of the strategy, and then you just start backing off and let them make their own decisions once they understand how the game works. And with so many co-op games out there now, that's a great way to introduce kids into something with a little bit more meat, where they require maybe some more reading skills and logic skills.
That's a very good point. And actually, that was an opportunity for a teachable moment for my wife and I as parents. We introduced Forbidden Island to our family. We played with our daughter. We really enjoy Forbidden Island a lot. And for 1 or 2 games into it, second or third time we played, we were going, the odds were against us, and the island was sinking, and we had, we thought we could win. And little V-Bug, our daughter, piped up and said, I think we should do this, then that move, and then this third thing. And we went into kind of the know-it-all parent mode. It's like, I think we might have a better plan. I think we should do this other thing over here. And so our daughter was like, okay, and she kind of sat back, and we lost. And not only did we lose, we realized almost immediately that if we had listened to her and did what she wanted, we would have won. And so as a parent, you got to not fall into that trap of the kid doesn't know what they're doing. The parent, we have a better strategy. And I since then, I've kind of opened my eyes and tried to be more aware. And I'm shocked. I shouldn't be, but I'm shocked how often, their strategies, even though, 8 to 12 years old, their strategies are very, very stable, good, solid strategies. Next, Halo has a question for us both. Halo asks, do you let your kids win, or is it just better to play the game and let them win fairly? I've done an entire episode on this topic. So, Marty, I'll let you answer this one first.
You do videos?
And live streams. Well, I used to do live streams, but I don't know if I'm going to do them anymore.
Sorry. Composure. So I'm trying to remember back to when they were younger. If they were struggling and maybe getting upset or now let's put it this way. Typically we did not. We think that, they should learn how to accept losing. But if it goes off on this thing where, man, they just get beat every time, I just didn't want to discourage them so much. So I wouldn't say, automatically let them win, but I'd pull back a little bit, as in if it was a competitive game, maybe I wouldn't do the best thing for me to do right then because I thought it might be a turning point in me winning. So I still played the game, but maybe, laid back a tad to give them a chance to win. And when they did, that was great. But then I would go back to just kind of try playing normal. I never tried to pounce them, especially on strategy games. I just tried to play not down to their level. That sounds bad. I just kind of pulled back the reins a little bit and did things a little bit slower, hopefully along their pace so they could pick up on some things. So typically, no, we did not let them win, but we also didn't try to crush them either.
Yes. Yeah. That's exactly the same approach I take. I don't let her win, but I might not play as well as I might against someone else. Like for you, example, if I play a game against you, I have no problems crushing you and then gloating about it afterwards. Just gloat.
What's happened?
Yeah, yeah. If you do that though, be prepared for the consequences. Like, for example, Ascension. My daughter really liked Ascension a couple years ago. And I would play it, and I would kind of play as an AI almost. I just kind of play, I would say, okay, this game, I'm going to focus on this. I'm going to play this way. And I would kind of challenge myself. I made it a game for myself as a parent to kind of play a certain way. And she really loved it. She played all the time to the point where I started to get tired of it. And so when the next time she asked to play Ascension, I said, okay, this time I'm just going to play normal. I'm not going to pounce her, but I'm just going to play. And I won for the first time ever. And she never asked to play Ascension again. So if you don't, you have to walk that line. Is you don't let them win, but if you don't pull your punches too much or something, you could actually sour them on the experience, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Kid has to learn the consequences of not always winning. But
and I was going to also say that it gives you to be an example of how to win and how to lose.
Yes.
Obviously, when you win, don't rub it in. But you want them to win sometimes so that you can see how you should accept losing. Because you're right, kids can get upset. I did everything I was supposed to do and I still lost, etc. And so, like, when I lose to you, I pout and whine just like a child does. But around my kids, I try to be more mature about it. And I tried to teach the kids how to be gracious winners and good losers. Like when they played official, Magic tournaments, they used to play miniature tournaments. I always said, at the very end of the game, always stick out your hand, say good game, and offer your hand, to shake their hand. Win or lose, be the first one to do it, and that just shows a gracious winner and not a sore loser.
Yeah. B. Pike mentions, something I did with my kids is to introduce them to stepping stone games. I taught Sushi Go to introduce drafting, Star Realms for deck building, and Donut Drive-Thru for worker placement. I think that is an excellent approach.
That's good. That's a fantastic idea. And that's kind of what I did with the Pokemon. I knew Magic might be on the radar eventually, and Pokemon was a great way to start. I mean, they actually went from there to Yu-Gi-Oh! And then from that to Magic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I to be honest, I've had mixed results with that. I already talked about my results with Sushi Go, but we've played other drafting games. And V-Bug was into Pokemon for about a week. But it didn't really capture her interest. But Keyforge really has, because she found a deck with a combo she loves and latched onto it and wants to play it all the time and is exploring new decks, discovering new combos all the time. But basically letting her make those discoveries was, I think, the most important part.
Side note, Pokemon card game's a good game.
Kabuki Kid mentions, definitely be careful not to overload kids or force them. You want them to want to play and to enjoy it. Absolutely true. Yep.
I probably push too much, I admit.
Okay, really? I try not to. I have the opposite problem. When my daughter does want to play a game, I find myself doing the thing. Okay, I'm busy right now. Maybe tomorrow or maybe later. It's like, and I have to stop myself. No, this is one of those moments I'm not going to have for very much longer. Go stop the stupid thing you're working on and go spend the time and play this game, even if it's a 14th game of Ascension this week. Go do it.
Well, that's how I exactly felt when you asked me to join this stream. It's like, I may not have this much time to do this much longer, so I better do it now.
Exactly.
And now that I'm here, since I'll never get asked again, I'm glad I did it now.
Oh, okay. I'm glad. See, I've been trying to do everything in my power to make you resent it. So hearing that you're actually so glad you did it, so it makes me very, very happy. Our final comment's going to come from Christian, who says, a good way to get kids into games is gradually. Play with, game it with no points, etc., before you play it full blown. In non-English speaking countries, this could also be a good way, which is a very good point. Many games, I've tried to take the introduction in small steps. Magic is an example too. I've been planning on introducing V-Bug to Magic when she turns 13, and I actually dug up all my old Magic cards a while ago. It's like, okay, I'm going to make a deck that just has very basic creatures, a couple of decks that way. Then I'm going to make a couple more decks that have just some enchantments or sorceries. Then we'll add new decks that have instants and maybe, hopefully. I'm worried that it makes it boring, because without a lot, if it's just monsters, it could be a dull experience at first. So it's kind of something I'm wondering if it might backfire. So Marty, would you agree that there are lots of different approaches that you can take to introduce a kid to gaming? and there's no one tried and true way that's the right way to do it?
Oh, 100% agree. And I think that it's one of those things where you just need to know your kid. Know exactly what they like, what they're into, what they can handle. And the only thing with all these suggestions that we've made is just their suggestions. One of these may work, they all may work, or none may work. But here's the thing. It is so amazing when you get your younger kids into gaming, as I've experienced when they get older, and then they can sit there and, oh my gosh, sit in the basement with them and paint 40K miniatures with them. And they talk about the lore, and they'll play RPGs with you or heavy strategy games. It is purely magical. It is a wonderful memory that I'll have forever. And hopefully it's something that they'll take with them. And when they have their families, they can pass it on to their kids.
Absolutely. And yeah, it's those moments that make it so special. It's not about the game. So often you get done playing the game or whatever, and you don't really remember who won, but it's the stories, the experiences that you share together. That is what you're going to keep and treasure. So, but you're right. There's no one tried and true way. So if you have other suggestions, tips, or ideas on this subject or questions, put them in the comments below, because we'd love to continue the conversation down there. Because unfortunately, right now we're out of time. But until next time that we get together, I've been Chaz Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise, joined this time by Marty Connell from Rolling Dice and Taking Names. And Marty, real quick, where can people find the Rolling Dice and Taking Names gaming podcast at?
Well, if they want to go download the episodes, they can do so at rolldicetakenames.com. And obviously, you can find us on all your common podcast providers, iTunes, Stitcher. You can find us on Google. And then if you want to, on social media, you can follow us on Twitter at Dice and Names. Chaz, thank you so much for having me on for this topic. I love talking about kids, gaming, and everything. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for joining me. Until the next time that we have a chance to get together, thanks everyone in the chat for joining us. We'll talk to you again real soon.
Get ready to rock with this metal-inspired design of the Pair of Dice Paradise logo. Wear it around as you drive your 87 Trans Am to the next Dawkins concert. This thing is guaranteed to melt your face off. Metaphorically.